I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We are being broadcast live over Van Buren Television, Channel 12. Clerk Wright, would you please take the roll?
Trustee White. Present. Trustee Miller. Trustee Martin. Here. Trustee Frazier. Here. Treasurer Bud. Here. The clerk is present. Supervisor McNamara.
Here. Thank you.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Our first order of business is an executive summary. Today's meeting will begin with approving the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of July 1st and 2nd's work study and board meeting minutes. We're also set to approve a list of expenses for the bills that we normally pay out, like utilities. That list also has approval to allow a resident to hook up their water from the city of Romulus. They live on the border where the residents get their water from Romulus, and they need our permission. We will today have a rare public hearing to retask federal grant money. This money, about $75,000, if approved, will be moved to combat blight and be directly used to demolish abandoned homes and structures that are unsavable, and they're in danger of blight and safety of the community. In new business today, the board will be considering an agreement between the township and its LDFA, that would be the Vistian area, to advance funds to the LDFA for bond repayment. The stipulation calls for the monies to be repaid in the future. And we will also be considering an updated timekeeping system. It is for all of our employees. It is pursuant to directions by the Department of Labor. Moving on to the next item, can I get a motion for approval of the agenda?
I make a motion we approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
I have a motion by Trustee Frazier, support by Trustee Miller. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? This motion passes. Next item is adoption of the consent agenda. Trustee Frazier, would you like to read that off?
Okay, the consent agenda consists of work study meeting minutes of July 1st, board meeting minutes of July 2nd, the prepaid list of July 3rd, the prepaid list of July 11th, the voucher list of July 16th, and approval of revisions to the Local Development Finance Authority, the LDFA's bylaws. I make a motion we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay. Did I hear the resolution for the
You do the revised, you didn't do the revised resolution, did you?
I don't think she did.
No.
Trustee Frazier,
Number 6.
could you add this right here, exactly as it's written?
6.
To your motion? That one right there.
Approval of Resolution 219-12 to install water service for the residents at 3559 1 Price Road in Wayne County.
Are we complete now?
Yes.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Treasurer Bud.
Yep, I approve that.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion for support. We have a motion and we have support. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Motion passes. Thank you. I got to ask, public hearing. We haven't had one in so long. Do we need to have a motion to go into a public hearing? Because I couldn't find it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can I get a motion to go into public hearing?
I make a motion that we go into public hearing.
Okay. I have a motion by Trustee Miller, supported by Trustee Martin. All in favor of going into public hearing?
Aye.
Okay, we are in public hearing. I take it now, like I said, I haven't done a public hearing in so long. I take it I just call for anybody wishing to speak at the public hearing?
Supervisor, would you read what the public hearing is for?
Sure, I'm sorry. We are here now to receive public comment on Resolution 2019-11 to reprogram or transfer CDBG, which is Federal Community Development Block Grant dollars, their grant funds from the federal government. From a public facilities activity, we basically were using this to rebuild our parks, park pavilions, to a demolition activity. We have about $75,000 left. We don't have enough to do another pavilion there, but we can make a real impact by getting rid of some of the blighted structures in our community. Hearing, does anybody wish to speak before the public? Hearing none, can I get a motion to go out of public hearing?
Through the chair, make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, a motion by Treasurer Bud, supported by Trustee Miller. All in favor? Aye. We are now back out of public hearing. We are now in the announcements. I'm actually, okay. Does anybody want to, see, should have handed these things out before. Why don't you start with that? Give that. Trustee Miller?
The Van Buren Township is having an opioid awareness forum and Narcan training on September 12th. The time will be from 5:30 to 7:45 at Wayne County Community College at 955 Haggerty Road. Moderators will be myself and Chief Brow. Speakers will be Officer McCormick, Patrick Stropes, Congresswoman Debbie Dingle, Darlene Owens, Director for the Substance Use Disorder. After a Q&A, we will have Narcan training. You have to go through the training to receive the kit, and we hope that we have a great participation and turnout. This is a wonderful event. So if you'd like a free Narcan kit and trained on how to use it and what the laws are, please come to this training.
Thank you. Trustee Frazier?
I don't have one, but I do have one to announce that today, the township was very grateful. We received a smart minibus, and there was a ceremony dedicating that. There were a lot of seniors here. The director, Lynette Jordan, did a great job and really was tenacious on keeping the energy going until we actually got the van. And we're very grateful to SMART. Their director of transportation was here, and another lady from, I can't remember her name. Kevin, do you remember?
She's outreach. She's been 20 years.
She's the outreach for the SMART services. And I can just say that as a resident, I think that we owe it to our residents. Van Buren Township is a center of our, between the airport and Ann Arbor, we have a lot of universities, Wayne County, a lot of people take Detroit is revitalized, a lot of people are taking buses downtown. I know they go to the Dearborn Place to park their cars and ride a bus to downtown Detroit to their jobs and this or that. There's plenty of places that that I think our residents could make use of a SMART service in Van Buren Township. And I did talk to the transportation director, and he said all we have to do is invite them in. They would be happy to come to the township, talk to the DDA, talk to the board about the services and what kind of resources they could provide for our residents. And I think it would be worth our time to explore that.
Thank you. Trustee White?
Good evening. The September Day Senior Center received their new smart bus today.
No.
I just did that.
Many of the seniors in the area rely on this service as their only means of transportation. With this service, they're able to make it to their medical appointments, make it to shopping trips and day trips. The service is available to transport residents 50 years and older or the disabled on a first-come, first-served basis, and there is no charge for fare. You can contact the senior department at 699-8918 for further information on this. It's a brand-new bus, great looking. I'd be happy to ride in the front seat of it. So please call if you are in need of transportation to any of your medical appointments or your shopping trips and day trips also. Thank you.
Trustee
And
Martin?
I'd just like to add that it does have, when we toured the bus, it did have wheelchair accessibility. they do have the capability, a gate that can drop down and raise up the wheelchair. So that's a really plus for people that are disabled or whatever.
It's a beautiful bus. Trustee Martin?
Good evening. Thunder over Michigan, August 3rd and 4th, located at the Yankee Air Museum. Grunt Style Air Show Majors is a unit touring the most prestigious air shows in the country with the mission to celebrate aviation, honor the military, and advance the air show industry through increased mainstream awareness. To learn more about the tour visit, go to airshowmajors.com.
Thank you. Clerk Wright, I'm sorry, and Treasurer Bud.
Which one you want?
Go ahead, Clerk.
Yes, if we have any precinct 10 voters out there, we will be having a small election, August 6th. A smaller section of Van Buren Township residents living in precinct 10, and that's the Washtenaw Intermediate School District. If you live in this area, you can obtain an absentee ballot at the clerk office during normal business hours, or you can go to Owens Elementary School to cast your vote on Election Day. Election Day is August 6th. The ballot is a bond issue. It reads like this: shall Washtenaw Intermediate School District, Michigan, borrow the sum not to exceed $53,295,000 to issue its general obligation unlimited tax bond, therefore, for the purpose of erecting, furnishing, and equipping a new High Point school as an addition to the pool and gymnasium portion of the existing building, remodeling, equipping, and re-equipping the furnishing and refurnishing the pool gymnasium portion of the existing building, purchasing and installing information technology equipment and software, preparing, developing, improving equipment playground on the site. The following information purposes is the millage, which is .37 for each $1,000 taxable value, which is if you have a $100,000 home, it's approximately $37. Thank you.
Thank you. Treasurer Bud.
Just to announce that the second in the 3 concert series will be tomorrow night, Wednesday, July 17th, featuring the Blue Water Kings Band. It's a jazz, swing, and popular tunes. They will start at 7 o'clock, and they will take place right behind Van Buren Township Hall at the Senior Activity Garden. And then the next one will be on Wednesday, July the 24th. So bring a chair, sit back, and enjoy the music.
The police said we had 120 people show up for the first one, which is better than I ever expected for the first one. All right.
I'd just like to mention, too, if you can't make it to Wednesday's program, Thursday, there'll be Music in the Park by Horizon Park in Lakeside Music, which is sponsored by the Belleville Arts Council. Will be putting that on.
Okay. Thank you. Next item is public comment, I think. Anybody from the public? No? Next item is unfinished business. We have no unfinished business. First item is new business. The first item is to consider approval of an agreement between the township and the Local Development Finance Authority, otherwise known as the LDFA, to advance funds for bond repayment. Can I get a motion for approval?
Supervisor, I make a motion to consider approval of an agreement between the township and the Local Development Finance Authority to advance funds for bond repayment.
Clerk writes in support. Okay, I guess I'll take this one since the lawyers are not here. We discussed it at length yesterday for the viewing public. Basically, we have a bond with Vistion that comes due, well, actually it's paid every year. This year, we are about to have a $600,000-ish shortfall. We are the LDFA, which is the political entity that was formed to sell the bonds and capture taxes from the Vistion location. They're not capturing enough taxes to pay the bonds. Van Buren Township has to back those bonds. By federal law, it has to be the first bill we pay before we pay anything else. So we have made an agreement with the local LDFA that we will lend them the money to pay their bond payment, but we will expect to be repaid when they can pay it. If it takes 2052, they will make the payment. In addition, they will pay interest rates equivalent to our current borrowing, which is probably a little under 2.5%, correct, Treasurer? Okay, so since we already talked about it at length yesterday, I just wanted to give the public the update and say, does anybody have any further questions? No? Okay, this is protecting the Van Buren resident in the future. So at any rate, I have a motion for approval by Trustee Miller. It is supported by Clerk Wright. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
I think you should mention that we are hopefully we're pursuing it in the courts. And that the public needs to know that we're fighting the fact that the residents, the taxpayers, have to pay the money. You know, that we're not taking this lightly, that we have until the shortfall occurs, which will be October. The court said they won't hear it, but at that time, they may make a decision in favor of the township, or they could make a decision in favor of Vistion.
We are currently in suit against Vistion. We believe that Vistion has an agreement with us that is very well spelled out, that if there's a shortfall of the bond payments, that Vistion will come and make the payments on those shortfalls. Unfortunately, they're not required to come until we miss a payment, or it becomes short on a payment, and we won't be short on a payment for another month or two. Thank you. Next item is to consider approval of the adoption of the Van Buren Township Resolution 2019-11. This is to reprogram, otherwise known as transferring, CDBG funds from a public facility activity to a demolition activity. Director Best, could you, what?
Make the motion.
Oh, sorry, yes, Clerk Wright?
I'd like to make the motion for the approval or adoption of Van Buren Township Resolution 2019-11 to reprogram transfer CDBG funds from a public facility activity to a demolition activity.
Okay. Got it. Yeah,
I would like to request something, though.
sure.
I would like to request that we consider looking at funding going forward to the upcoming years to redo the pavilions in the park. They need to be replaced.
Now would not be the time to do that.
I said we need to look at upcoming
Okay.
in the budget.
Mm-hmm.
Next time.
We're currently painting them, the other two.
I know we're painting it, that's why I said we need to look at replacing it.
Did you have a second on that
I
motion?
second it.
Trustee Miller. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Board.
It's completely washed out.
I know. Van Buren Township currently administers a federal grant program as a subrecipient of Wayne County called the Community Development Block Grant Program, as the Board is well aware. In 2018, the Township was awarded $76,581 for public facilities in which we were going to do pavilion improvements. We were going to take that $76,000 and change and combine it with additional monies in the future of $76,000 in 2019 and another donation or another contribution from CDBG of $76,000 and change for 2020, and use that funding to install new pavilions and pavement out there at the park area. Significant changes have been undertaken by Wayne County in the way they process their CDBG programs. While we were preparing in 2018 to start the pavilion projects, Wayne County changed the entire process and put into a different disbursement method, which we have taken in stride and actually have gotten a significant grant for the Iron Bell Trail from the CDBG program. However, the program funding that we were going to use to do the pavilions, which the $76,581 were laid out for, is no longer going to be available. Because of that, the developmental services went back and looked at the needs for the CDBG program and identified significant need in our demolition program, which is also funded through our CDBG program. In order to move the money from the public facilities line item and reprogram it to demolition, we have to have a resolution from the board to submit to CDBG program at Wayne County. This $76,581 is critical to be, this is critical for us to move it forward because it must be spent before December 31st, 2019. I do have a list of the properties that are on the demolition list in the township that will be part of this project. You should have a copy in front of you as well.
We do.
Okay.
We all do.
Yep.
Everybody does. Okay, any
Handed out
questions?
prior to the
Are there any
meetings.
questions on this?
Yeah, I got a question. What's the Tyler Road barns?
There are two barns, Tyler and
Martin Taylor.
Morton Taylor, that have been condemned and are scheduled for, that have been scheduled for demolition by the county and by the township through the CDBG program. We just have yet to get the funds released from the county and the notice to proceed to work from the county.
On the south, what is that?
Southeast
Southeast corner?
Yeah.
are two barns.
Any work that's done, a lien is placed on the property. And then we are reimbursed at sale of the property.
Behind you?
I'd just like to comment, I think the director has made a good call here to bring forth a demolition list because blight in the community is something, that affects all residents' home values. And it also, looks bad. Places are run down. They're not taken care of. They sit there year after year, people complaining. And I think, City of Detroit has, tore down 2,000 houses, I think, last year. And they're really tackling blight there. And I think all communities should, look at areas in their township or their cities that are not adding to the aesthetics or the property values and take action on them. So I appreciate your efforts, Director Best.
Thank you. Hearing no further questions, I have a motion by Clerk Wright and supported by Trustee Miller. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Board.
Next item is to consider approval for the need of an updated timekeeping system. This timekeeping system will be for all employees, is regulated by the Department of Labor. Trustee Martin.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the need for an updated timekeeping system for all employees as regulated by the Department of Labor.
Support.
Trustee White. Okay. Director Sumter.
Our visit from the Department of Labor exposed the need for all hourly employees, regardless of where they work in our township, to have a system to properly keep time daily. We needed to tighten up a little bit on our timekeeping and lunch skills here. However, we did find 3 companies. One actually didn't call us back, but Kronos and ExecuTime did give us a quote as well as a demo. And once we finished that demo, we came to the conclusion that Kronos was the best system for the township. In addition to it being the best system, our payroll person really liked it. It integrated with our current BSNA system that we currently have. We did our quotes and we did our breakdown between the 2 companies. And Kronos also had the best pricing. So total, with the setup costs as well as the implementation, it came to 45,151. And with that, I'll answer any questions the board may have.
Questions?
Have a comment. It's unfortunate. I don't think that the employees are probably gonna like this. It's unfortunate that we have to have Big Brother watching every step that we make. And it saddens me to know that we've come to this point in society that we have to have cameras watching everything and in the time clocks, and you have to do this, you have to do that. It's just an unfortunate part of today's modern society, I guess. But I'm not excited about it. But I understand why we had to have the Department of Labor come in, because we owed employees a considerable amount of money for the past that they had worked and were not compensated.
That never happened. No, no.
The time now.
Just to be clear, the Department of Labor came in. We've had a contract here since 1994, we go back to?
89.
89, since 1989. That basically says you can punch in whatever time you want to punch in, but your start time is 7:30 in the morning. And so what was happening were people were coming in and punching in at 7:15. And then they go, I don't know, read their newspaper, do whatever they want to do. They don't have to work because they don't start work till 7:30. Department of Labor says, no, if they punch in 7 minutes early, that more than 7 minutes, more than 7 minutes early, we have to pay them as though they're working. So that is what brought about this whole thing. It just, the union's not happy with it.
No
We're
one's
not
happy
happy with
with
it. We all like the system that we had. It worked. But the U.S. government is making it very clear that it's management's job to enforce this time clock rule that is a U.S. government time clock rule, that they are saying if we don't enforce it, we will literally be fined $1,000 per person per occurrence.
Well, it seems to me that we could correct that by telling the employees they have to sign in, at 7:30. I don't know.
Well, they have to, yeah, we did.
And what they do, they
Well, the problem
still
is, what
were
happens when they,
clocking in early?
what happens when they mess up and instead of 7 minutes early, 8 minutes, instead of 7 minutes early punching in, they punch in 8 minutes early.
So we had to pay
So
them for the 8 minutes?
So the U.S. government's answer was, it is our job to write them up. That's their answer. Because as management, that's our job, is to enforce that rule. And if we're not enforcing that rule, then we are trying to get them to work without compensation. So in order to stop the labor management fight that I believe the U.S. government's almost forcing us into, we decided to go out and find out what other people were doing to stop these things.
Correct.
And Mr. Martin suggested that we look into one of, among other things, this chrono system that they use at the automotive companies, because they've already had this problem. And we started looking at these systems, and this system is a very nice system that takes into account all the Department of Labor's issues.
How does this correct it? That's what I'm not sure.
It's a management system.
Treasurer Bud, I'm sorry.
Just to say that once we notified the employees, after we'd been made aware of it, we notified the employees that they could no longer punch in early. Everybody just about responded and done what they were asked to do. They really did. There were a couple that didn't, and they were spoke to, and that has been corrected.
Correct.
This system is going to make it easier. We no longer will have time cards. They can use their badge. They'll be able to use other things. So in the long run, this will be an easier system for them to be used. It'll be easier to track it. I wouldn't even say that the employees are against the system because they haven't even looked at it. There were 3 or 4 of us that looked at the demonstration. It looks like it's going to be a whole lot easier for everybody to use. So to say that anybody's upset at this time, I don't think that's true. And the employees have been doing what they've been told to do since we have told them to correct their system. But this will just make it easier for everybody.
We weren't at odds, so before this system came about. Clerk Wright? Trustee Miller? Clerk Wright?
Yes, I agree with Treasurer Butters, that absolutely right. We've never been in odds regarding the time. It's just something that got brought up during the audit. And the problem is that while one union was punching in and out using time cards, which is, you can reference that, we do have other unions that use this recording system where they start at a certain time and stop at a certain time. And it's just put into the payroll is put in as working 12 hours, but it's nothing recording what time they actually punched in. So that was the biggest problem. It's our responsibility to record the actual time and stop time of our employees working. We didn't have that, so we couldn't verify it. Only thing we knew that the contract states that they worked 12 hours. And then with the ASME, we had contracts stating that they would punch in a certain time, but it wasn't in regulation with federal law. So we had to change it, and we have to record it. And that's our job, to record the time. And it's simple as that.
Okay, one second. Trustee Miller, then
had a
I have to ask
question.
these two if they want to speak before I go around again. Trustee Miller?
Kronos is nationally known. I'm pleased that you decided on this company. When will this system be fully integrated in the township? What is the timeline here? And are there any updates and costs coming up, that maintenance fees or software updates that?
Not at this time. We don't have a set time frame as of yet. If you approve it tonight, we will be calling tomorrow to let, the gentleman's name is Stephen as well. We'll let him know, and then we'll get all the time frames and the timelines on it. But as far as we know, right now, the pricing that we have includes all of the setup, all of the materials, all of the time clocks, which is about 8, plus the battery backups. So right now, we're not foreseeing any maintenance as far as ongoing right now, if that answers your question.
Can I just say, the
Yeah.
hosting fee covers the
Thank
updates.
you.
and everything.
Hosting,
That's
okay.
what
Right.
it is.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
what I mean.
Hosting fee was separate, wasn't it?
Yeah. Trustee Miller, Trustee Frazier, Trustee Miller, please. Are you finished, Trustee Miller?
Well, one other thing I wanted to mention, you said that there's 8 of these units that will be scattered throughout the township, correct?
Mhm.
You mentioned yesterday one at the park.
Yes, there is a time clock at the park. I believe it's Van Buren Park, is that? Yeah, with a pole barn, yeah.
And that'll be secured to where?
Wherever we
Okay.
put it
Because
there.
that's a remote area is what I'm, okay, it's a secure, okay,
Yes, it's in the
perfect. That's
barn.
what I
Yep.
wanted to know. Thank you.
Okay, before, let's say, do either of you want to speak on the first round? Trustee Martin?
I'd just also like to say that this will streamline our payroll activities also, is that correct? It's a fully integrated system to the payroll, so it'll make the payroll job easier and more efficient. So I don't think it's a big brother watching, I think it's a more efficient way of conducting business.
Okay. Trustee White, did you want to speak?
My question is, will this prevent any type of abuse on time card keeping? Employees will not be allowed to punch in early. The system will not let them punch in early, or any situation like that, take too long for lunch, work overtime. How will you handle 15 minutes overtime and situations like that?
Exceptions such as missed punches, early or late arrivals, or extended or skipped breaks can result in payroll errors, which is what you're referring to. But we're working on this, and we will have flags already in the system. So if someone does that, we're notified as well as the managers before it even gets to payroll, and it can be corrected at that time.
Individual working in the township, the director of that department will have to do inputs weekly on their schedules.
Yes, if they have, let's say, for example, you have some water workers that may end up doing a grave during the week. The timekeeping system has a chart or a drop-down where that employee can go into their time card, change where they're working, and the employee or the director knows that they're doing graves during this time or on this day. If anything's missed, such as a lunch during that time, then the director is notified, and it also flags the employee at the end of the day. If they did not take a lunch, it asks, did you take a lunch today? So there's numerous precautions within the system that we can set during the implementation period.
Are we going to have training for the department directors on how to do the input and how to report infractions of this? Because, as you know, there's been back and forth currently on some of the objects in the policy and procedures manual, and we need to come forth with a policy on this that will prevent any type of infractions that may happen on this, and negotiate with the union on how those infractions will be handled.
There are already precautions within the union contracts, but we will work closely with the directors, and they can flag us on anything that they've seen that we may not have. And me and Steve and Carol will work with them to make sure we don't miss anything that's pertinent in the system for our employees' safety, because we have to look out for the employees as well as be looking out for management as well.
I understand that, but all those infractions should come to the supervisor's office, is that correct? Since he's a personnel director?
It goes to the director first.
Okay, but then the director has to be supervised also, so if that director has infractions, then he should discuss it with the supervisor, and it should come to the supervisor at that time.
Supervisor, I'll let you answer that from Trustee White.
A system that works, it goes to the director. Director gets with personnel. If it's an infraction that I need to know about, they get with me. And there's actually written it out in that way in the labor contract and the police contract. I'm not sure what they call it, but I'm trying to get it written out where they actually get to go in front of the supervisor as the last step. So, okay. Are we all set?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your patience, Trustee Frazier. It's
I
your turn.
just have a couple of questions. So does this negate people signing in early?
Yes.
Because the system won't work for it?
It will flag them that you're clocking in before the time frame that is set in the system when we implement the project.
And then how do you correct that?
How do I correct what?
The signing in early.
In there, the employee will not be able to sign in early. It's gonna flag them, you're signing in
That's
too
what I
early.
asked. What, would it take
I
it?
thought that's what I answered, I'm sorry.
Okay, so it's not gonna take it. Okay, and I was, so $45,000 is what we're spending on this system.
To start off, yes.
I thought the hosting fee yesterday was separate. It was like 2,600 or something like that, Director?
It's separate, it's an annual cost, and that was one of the good things was we would be paying less by $2,600 a year going with Kronos, which we felt was a better system anyhow, so we have a savings there, but it's an annual separate hosting fee, and like
And we don't know what that is?
yes, we do.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
It's on the, I think it was 9,000.
I
something.
forgot. So we have to pay, $45,000 gets the whole system up. But then we also have to pay a separate hosting fee. And if there's software updates, which you know there's gonna be software updates eventually, that always happens. The software updates, you're saying, are included in the hosting fee for that year that we pay.
Responsible for everything for that software.
Okay, but we're only paying the 45,000 one time to get it started, to get the clocks and everything set up. And that includes the training?
I think it's a 3-day on-site
Three-day
training.
on-site training, and we're only paying that much because they have to come from out of state, so.
So this amount of money, we're not gonna pay extra for training.
No.
They're gonna give us 3 days of training. And that's where we'll train the directors and
Sound like you already know this.
everybody.
Trained on it.
Okay.
Testing and make sure we import into BSNA and
Okay.
Does anybody else wish to speak on this issue? Hearing none, I have a motion by Trustee Martin. It's been supported by Trustee White for the approval of the updated timekeeping system. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is reports, which we have none. Finally, we're into public comment. Is there anybody from the public that wishes to speak? All right, we have none. Does anybody from the board have any comments?
I have a couple of comments. That close. I'm disappointed in the fact that we delayed the communications specialist job description and putting it out there. And I'm looking forward to hearing from, my fellow trustees that objected and what their plan or what their additions to the description will be. And I think we need to, get some further information or clarification on what's holding it up. I would advise us to have the first week or the first meeting in August, go ahead with it rather than a budget hearing, that we go ahead and get that out there.
Would agree with you. He would have a special meeting tomorrow right now. He could.
Because we're doing multiple things, and how people get their information and how people get their news has changed. They stream news, they get it on Twitter, they get it on Facebook, they get it, a variety of ways, a magazine or whatever. So basically, the whole thing is falling upon, I think, the executive assistant, Mr. Selman, is holding that department up because we're lacking staff in the cable department, with getting pictures taken. I know today it was his job to run around and get the people in line for pictures for the smart bus, and he said it's going to be in the Van Buren magazine that'll be coming out. There was all kinds of things he was doing. So I think it's imperative for the township to get on board and, get out there as fast as we can. And I'm a little disappointed in the fact that we have not put out the planning and development job description and position. We haven't posted that yet. I understand that we're waiting for, when I inquired, they said we were waiting for the clerk and for the personnel person to get through real or get those things done. I'm not sure, but anyway, I think the planning and development department is a crucial department of the township. We depend on development from residential subdivisions going up to businesses coming into Van Buren Township. There's no department that is more important. And although Director Best is doing a great job of keeping things balanced and subcontracting out a lot of these duties, it would be imperative that we get somebody that's going to be committed to the township in that position. And I would advise us to get that put out as soon as possible also. We did have warning that he was giving up his position, and he gave us notice. His last day was July 8th, and here it is July 16th, and it still isn't out there. So I'd just like to say I hope that happens.
Gone pretty well over the three, but that's okay. Let's hold on. We have Trustee Miller next.
Okay.
So I want to be clear on the dates for our budget reviews. It was my understanding that it was going to be August 5th and 6th.
We're gonna maintain
It
that.
hasn't been shifted now.
We're going to maintain that schedule. It's just it's too difficult to change the schedule.
Oh, it is? I was going to ask, well, like I sent you that text last night, I'd be more than willing to, I have a prior appointment that I cannot change that I've had for months. So I could step out of the hearing, go take care of that, and come back, and then you catch me up at lunch. Like I said, I'm more than willing to do
Tell you what,
that.
can I call you tomorrow and you tomorrow and work in the morning and see if we can work our way through it? This is not the place to talk
Well,
about that, I guess.
The reason why I'm bringing it up, I want to come out of this meeting tonight knowing when our public hearings are, or I'm sorry, I won't say hearings, budget reviews. It's important. We worked so hard to set the schedule months ago so I wouldn't have this issue. So, but that being said, we have to be flexible. So I want to know tonight what they are, and if we're rescheduling it, are we going back to the original work study and board meeting on the 5th and 6th? Just let me, it's only right to let me.
I cannot do that in a board meeting because I'd have to ask you I'd have to ask you questions about how long you're gonna be gone, when you're leaving, when you're coming back. This would, we could
know.
do it right after the TV turns
right.
off, okay?
So you're planning on keeping the original dates as set?
Until 5 minutes after the meeting ends, because I have to ask you a lot of questions and I don't want to do it on TV,
Okay.
okay? Because
Just
you're
know that-
offering to take some time off, all right?
Well,
This isn't the place to do that, okay?
okay, make me this commitment. After the meeting, commit to a date.
Sure.
Is that fair? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, that's all I'm asking. And stick to it. All right.
Okay, go ahead, Trustee White.
I 100% agree with all of Trustee Frazier's comments about what's happening in Van Buren Township. Our cable department is basically shut down. We have temporary help, high school students and everything else. And there was no forethought in how that came about, and the fact that the employee was terminated and another one decided to just walk out the door. So that was the two experienced and educated employees there, and that was kind of poor thinking in that situation. And it's even worse with the Ron Akers situation, because we knew a month ahead of time that Director Akers was leaving, and we still don't have a job posting for that job as far as I know. I haven't seen anything and don't know anything. So our planning is totally inadequate, and we have to figure out a way to improve how we run this township, because we cannot go through with no cable help, with a short planning department, planning leader and staff and everything else. And it's just inappropriate for us to run our township this way.
I think we don't need to be criticizing what's happened when you don't know all the reasons of why they've happened. So I think that's enough. We don't need to start running down any more directors like we've done some that have had to leave. And with that, I make a motion to
Running down
adjourn.
I'm not running down any directors.
Can't make the
Zero.
meeting.
Motion for adjournment, and unfortunately, I read about trying to find out public hearings, and motions for adjournment are not debatable.
That's right.
So I have a motion for adjournment, I have support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Think